The following are recordings of first-person eyewitness accounts written by British and American soldiers, paratroopers, and Marines who invaded Nazi-occupied France in the infamous Allied attack now known as D-Day. These heroes arrived on the beaches and fields of Normandy on that infamous day by boat, plane, and parachute. These are the recorded memories of their experience. All images depict that day, and sources are in the description below. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this, and let us know which event we should cover next in the comments below. Now, enjoy the incredible accomplishments of these brave men.
John Houston, U.S. 101st Airborne Division. Left foot forward on the edge of the door to push off. Swing the right leg out to make a half turn and get your back to the prop blast. Feet together, knees bent, arms on the reserve chute, head down. The static line jerks and the chute snaps open perfectly. We are so close to the ground that there is no time to do any sightseeing on the way down. Hands on the risers to pull up against the shock of landing. The ground is coming fast. Thump. One roll. This is France. Each man in the division had been issued a little cricket snapper to use in place of a password. 1 click is the challenge and 2 clicks the answer. I hear someone moving along the hedgerow and click the cricket. 2 clicks come back and Shedio and Spitz come out of the shadows. We whisper together for a minute. There is no firing nearby, but we don't want to announce that we are here. Mac hears us and joins the group. We move along in the direction of the flight of our plane, and soon gather 15 men. Donald Burgett, U.S. 101st Airborne Division. "What's your plan?" one of the men asked. After a little thought, the lieutenant answered, "A head-on attack, and the sooner the better, so let's go." He jumped up and started running toward the group of houses across the field, yelling as he went. We all jumped up and followed him, yelling and screaming at the top of our lungs. We automatically spread out and fired as we ran through the fields, apple orchards, and right up to the houses themselves. I saw my first Kraut running through the trees on an angle toward our right flank. I stopped, took a good sight on him, and squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked against my shoulder. I don't remember hearing the shot or feeling the recoil, but the German spun sideways and fell, face first out of sight in the grass. Another Kraut stepped around the corner of a building, stopped and just stood there looking down at the spot where the first soldier fell. He was facing me. I had a good straight-on shot at his chest and took careful aim. Again, the rifle bucked against my shoulder, and he too fell face forward. Meanwhile, as British and American paratroopers landed behind enemy lines during the early hours of the 6th, their nation's navies were forming the most formidable armada the world had ever seen. At around dawn, the ships began their bombardment of German positions above the beaches. Ken Wright, 1st Special Reserve Brigade, up at 4:15 a.m., breakfast 4:45. It was quite unpleasantly rough, and I did not feel much like eating. Went on to the upper deck about 5 o'clock, just in time to see a destroyer blow up and sink within 5 minutes, a mile or two to port. I think through striking a mine. It was rather appalling. The ship just cracked in half, and the two ends folded together as if it were a pocket knife. Frederick Wright, Royal Navy Diary, 6th June. The big battleships have opened up a heavy bombardment. The air is absolutely full of planes. I have just been up on our gun turret, a fine view from there. Our lads are singing, "You Are My Sunshine," full of good spirits. What a wonderful sight, clear visibility. Still, the big battleships are banging away like hell. All I can hear is bang, crash, bang, crash. We are all amazed. Cannot realize the truth. Not one German plane to be seen. Able Seaman R. E. Hughes, on board the HMS Glasgow Diary, 6th June 0545. I said a few prayers and am thinking of you all at home. We started shelling the beaches and approaches. RAF still bombing. Y turret is the first to open fire, our targets being gun batteries and insistent smoke mortars. Continuing patrol by RAF gives us a grand feeling. For those on board the landing crafts, however, things were far from cheery. Marine Stanley Blacker, Royal Navy. As we went in to land the noise was deafening. Behind us, the Rodney was firing 10-ton salvos, which almost shattered your ears. In front, I could see all the coast and villages in smoke and flames. Donald S. Vaughan, 79th Armored Division. There was an awful lot of noise going on. Planes were going over, the Germans were firing, and there were big warships behind us, firing 15-inch shells over the top. I'd never heard them before, and they sounded like locomotives going through the air. T. Tateson, Green Howards. The assault landing craft held about 30 men tightly packed. They were low-lying, flattish boats, and we were seated so that our heads were below the level of the gunwale. We were ordered to keep our heads down as we approached the coast to avoid enemy fire. However, our landing craft was disabled by some underwater mine or obstacle and became impossible to steer. One of the other boats was brought alongside, and although it was already fully loaded with a similar number of men, we had to clamber aboard and abandon our boat. We were now exposed to enemy fire as well as being grossly overloaded. Lieutenant Clark Houghton, U.S. Navy. So we were amid sniper fire and machine gun fire and flak. When we got to the beach, we saw the obstructions that Jerry had put up, and all became more tense. The skipper picked his spot and headed in. How close we came to tragedy at this point. We headed between two stakes on which were fastened mines. There was just room, and we made it. Then all hell broke loose. At 6:25 h-hour, the Americans began to land on beaches, Utah and Omaha. Those who landed on Utah met relatively little resistance and suffered relatively few casualties. Some soldiers even commented that it was something of an anticlimax. Sadly, the same could not be said for the landing at Omaha, where the battle-hardened 352nd German Infantry Division was waiting.
For more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe and check out our other eyewitness videos in our history playlist. Don't miss the video about the legendary charge at Somosierra by Napoleon's cavalry in Spain, 1809. I'm Connor with the Motion Visual. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Peace.